It may be, folks, that we now live in a country where only the already famous can get elected president of the United States. What's known as name recognition in politics is one of the steepest and most expensive climbs for most candidates. But when you are Oprah Winfrey or Donald Trump, as the president has already proven, you are already there, folks. And last night, the idea of a matchup between these two became a very real possibility.
We all know that the press is under siege these days. I want to say that I value the press more than ever before as we try to navigate these complicated times. For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men. But their time is up.
So with those words, carefully calculated words, Oprah Winfrey reached out to women voters very clearly, and she also put the media in a big, warm Oprah embrace. In a moment, Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire takes apart what he says was an effective, but nonetheless insulting in some areas, speech. He will lay that out for us. But first, Fox News Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry, live at the White House tonight, with more on how this now substantial buzz began. Hi, Ed.
Martha, great to see you. The unmistakable message from this White House tonight: bring it on. Hogan Gidley, a White House spokesman, telling reporters, first of all, that this president is planning to run for election and will welcome any challenge in 2020 from Oprah Winfrey or anyone else. All of this kicking off, as you say, the mainstream media whipped into a frenzy over the possibility of Winfrey running after her speech, and a joke from Golden Globes host Seth Meyers about the possibility. Today, sources close to her telling CNN she is actively considering it. Her longtime partner, Stedman Graham, telling the LA Times, quote, "It's up to the people. She would absolutely do it." And Hollywood already swooning. Actresses like Reese Witherspoon taking to social media to cheer Winfrey on, tweeting, "I will now officially divide time like this. Everything that happened before at Oprah's speech, everything that will happen after." And NBC, a thorn in the current president's side, appearing to jump on the bandwagon as well with this tweet, eventually deleted, a gif of Winfrey with the text, quote, "Nothing but respect for our future president." NBC clarifying yesterday, a tweet about the Golden Globes and Oprah Winfrey was sent by a third-party agency for NBC Entertainment in real time during the broadcast. It is in reference to a joke made during the monologue and not meant to be a political statement. We have since removed the tweet.
What I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. So I want all the girls watching here and now to know that a new day is on the horizon.
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally.
Now, Oprah has not ruled it out either, though her pristine image may take a hit if she gets into the ring. Conservative Ben Shapiro quickly dismantled her speech within minutes, tweeting, "There's no such thing as your truth. There is the truth and your opinion." And he also noted that she said nothing about Harvey Weinstein because, as you look, there are these photos now on social media, Winfrey posing with the disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein in recent years, raising new questions about why she and others in Hollywood did nothing for so long. By the way, 11 years after that 1988 interview that we showed between Winfrey and Mr. Trump, the president did a 1999 interview with Larry King in which he declared that if he ran for president, his #1 choice for vice president would be Oprah Winfrey. He said she was a, quote, "terrific woman and very special." Martha?
Very special. We're going to show that in just a second. Ed, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Here now, the aforementioned Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire, who wrote today's 5 reasons why Oprah would win and 5 reasons why she could lose. Ben, good evening. Good to see you as always. You know, we thought that a matchup between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump was going to be fascinating, and indeed it was. But this could be a whole new level.
No question. I mean, Oprah Winfrey is the most well-known person probably on planet Earth outside of President Trump. So you'd have two of the most high-profile people in American history battling it out. She obviously is another self-made billionaire. She has cultivated particularly female audiences for the last 30 years. She's a television star. She has a really great personal story. On the other hand, she is a conspiracy theorist. She is on the far left. And her image as sort of uniter, not a divider, would certainly take a hit were she to get political. It's one thing for President Trump, who basically has been hit with every piece of mud and emerged unscathed, to run for re-election. Oprah Winfrey is basically seen as this almost angelic figure in American pop culture. And if she is hit at all with any sort of scandal, it may not affect her quite the same way. If you want to move from a place where 90% of people love you to a place where 50% of people hate you, quickly move into politics.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump has certainly witnessed that himself during his transformation from being a private citizen to being president of the United States. Do you think, when you look at America as a society, are we living in a world where you almost have to be a celebrity? You look at all the people who've thrown their names in the ring, Mark Cuban, Kanye West has talked about it, The Rock has talked about it, and, you start to wonder if you're living in this sort of, freakish parallel universe lately.
I think there's some truth to that. I think the idea that high name recognition makes a difference, particularly in primaries, is absolutely true. Can you imagine Oprah Winfrey losing primaries to Joe Biden? I can't. I think that if Oprah Winfrey runs against a bunch of typical Democratic politicians, they have a very hard time knocking her out of the race. Obviously, Republicans couldn't knock Donald Trump out of the race, and he was less of a celebrity than Oprah Winfrey is. I think it's because Americans have this sort of dual-track mind when it comes to what they think the president does. On the one hand, we think that the president is there to do policy and engage in policy we like. And then there's really what we think the president does, which is say stuff. Right? When we think of people who say stuff, we tend to think of celebrities. We tend to think of the people who are on our TVs all the time. We think of these people as sort of the figureheads on the prow of the ship of state. And in that sense, if there are people who are very famous and we've already made our decisions about them, it's a lot easier for them to survive the slings and arrows than politicians who we may not have ever heard of and who can be taken down with a single scandal. Remember, in 2012, Rick Perry was basically knocked out of the primaries because he had mandated that Gardasil be used, right, a vaccine for a particular type of cancer for young girls. That knocked him out of the primaries in 2012. Donald Trump got hit with everything, including the kitchen sink, and he won the election.
It's unreal. When you take a look at this potential matchup, you've got Oprah Winfrey, who I think would be so embraced by Democrats that she probably wouldn't be standing up there with 17 other candidates. I mean, when Donald Trump tried it, everyone just laughed at him. They thought he was not going to last, wouldn't make it through the summer, wouldn't make it through the fall. I mean, that's the very different dynamic here, Ben.
I think that's true. And I think Democrats also have a way of anointing candidates that Republicans simply have not had. In 2016, obviously, they anointed Hillary Clinton. In 2012, they thought about, in 2008, rather, they thought about anointing Hillary Clinton. And then Oprah Winfrey is the person who helped push Barack Obama over that finish line. So I think the chances are actually pretty good that if Oprah decided to run, she'd win the nomination. In a general election, I do have my doubts as to whether she would actually defeat the president. The last poll that I saw was from March, and it showed Oprah defeating Trump something like 47-40. But those aren't incredible numbers for Oprah. She has, I think, 49% approval versus 33% disapproval. Wait till she actually has to go through a political cycle or two and see how those numbers hold up.
I got to let you go, but one last thing. You sort of went out on a limb today. You said you don't think she was that brave. Everybody on that room was up on their feet. And you said she wasn't brave last night. What did you mean?
I mean, what the hell kind of risk was she taking? She was standing in front of an entire town filled with sexual abusers and harassers. She said nothing about it for 20 years. She was being cheered by people who said nothing about it for 20 years. And there she is, pretending that she's leading the fight. In what way has she led the fight? I sort of missed it. And just because she said some stuff last night, I haven't seen how things have materially changed. I mean, Reese Witherspoon was mentioned that she measures things before Oprah and after Oprah. What changed after Oprah? Oprah said a bunch of stuff. Well, I was under the impression that most of us agreed with that stuff when this stuff first broke, and she lauded the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Where were they reporting on the sexual harassment and abuse scandal for the last 20 years? It is literally their job to cover Hollywood, and yet it took the New Yorker and Ronan Farrow to uncover all this stuff. Where was the Hollywood Foreign Press Association that was receiving such plaudits at the hands of Oprah Winfrey? Again, a woman who is good friends with Harvey Weinstein, being cheered by Meryl Streep, a woman who's gave a standing ovation to Roman Polanski.
Yeah, but there's a circle of support that ignored everything that you just mentioned so potently. Ben, thank you very much. Great to see you tonight.
Thanks a lot.
So President Trump mused about the political power of Oprah with Larry King back in 1999. Ed just mentioned this a minute ago, but it's fascinating to look back at it. This is as he considered a run for the White House in '99. Watch.
Do you have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Well, I really haven't gotten quite there yet.
It's just
Oprah, I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice.
Would she be someone, I mean, kidding aside, that you might think
if
about?
she'd do it, she'd be fantastic. I mean, she's popular, she's brilliant, she's a wonderful woman. I mean, if she'd ever do it.
Oh, Donald Trump way ahead of his time. With that comment, perhaps, let's bring in Karl Rove, former Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor, Charles Hurt, Washington Times columnist and Fox News contributor, and Democratic strategist Robert Zimmerman on the set here with me. You know, Karl, you look back to that moment, and it's sort of, you know, the funny idea of these celebrities running for political office. You know, I think it was quite forward-thinking, actually, looking back at Donald Trump to say, you know what, she'd be a heck of a candidate, and so would I.
Well, yeah, exactly. But Donald Trump tapped into something, and I'm not certain that Oprah Winfrey is in the same position. People were very concerned about the change, the rapid change in our country. They were concerned that the political elites were not listening to them, and they rallied behind Donald Trump and gave him about 46, 47% of the vote in the Republican primaries. I'm not certain Oprah Winfrey can tap into that same tap into a similar vein of enthusiasm other than anti-Trumpism. And frankly, look, if this is the best the Democrats can do, elections tend to be reactions to the last election. I think the next election, the best avenue for the Democrats is to say he wasn't up for the job. He had not demonstrated the ability to get things done. We've got somebody who's demonstrated the ability to get things done. Here, what they're saying is if you like that kind of outsider, let us give you another outsider, neither of whom had any experience in that kind of field life activity.
But Robert, you know, I have to wonder if what happens is Democrats look at Hillary Clinton and say, well, you know what, she was a terrible candidate, but wow, Oprah Winfrey? I mean, you know, all bets are off.
Well, as a matter of fact, to Carl's point, when you look at candidates who got things done, you can point to Oprah Winfrey as a woman who came from abject poverty and built an empire without a loan from her father like Donald Trump had for $1 million, a woman who was the victim of sexual assault and sexual harassment, unlike Donald Trump, who was accused of that, and she's spoken to it and empowered women to stand up and fight back, and a woman who really spoke, and this is the most important point, a woman who spoke with a sense of inspiration and empowerment last night. It's a mistake to define what we're witnessing today in conventional political terms. The reason she's an antidote to Donald Trump is because while you see Republicans and Democrats condemn the kind of vitriol and hate and divisiveness from the Trump White House, she spoke with a sense of an inspiration, a sense of empowerment, and it was an uplifting moment, and that's what captured the nation's attention.
So it sounds to me, Charlie, like Robert's saying, you know, Joe Biden who, Elizabeth Warren who, Kamala Harris who.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that they all have achievements in their own way, but she spoke from a very unique platform and a very inspiring, message.
But wouldn't you have loved to have been in the room with Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden and all those people when they watched this speech
going,
and then all the oxygen
deeper into
goes
their chair?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, I mean, Oprah Winfrey, there's probably nobody in America today who has a more sterling trademark brand name than Oprah Winfrey. But I really do question about what happens when you put that brand through a modern political campaign. And when you listen to the comments that she's made in the past, and then she's just flirting with this stuff last night, you know, you have to be really committed to do this. You have to be a little crazy, first of all, to run for president, but moreover, you have to really, really want it and believe in something. Yeah. And if she doesn't have that, if she doesn't have that fire burning in her, I just don't know how she...
Here's what I'm hearing, and I want Karl to weigh in on this too. You know, these are exactly the same things that were said about Donald Trump. Oh, he will never want to campaign. He won't want to hang in there. He doesn't have the experience. He's not going to want to go through the process. He doesn't have what it takes to be a politician, Karl.
Well, you're right. She could turn out to be that way, but I think she's more comfortable giving away cars to people sitting in her studio and running her media empire. We'll see. But again, my point is, if the Democrats are in a fit of enthusiasm, if Zimmerman is becoming the New York State chairman of Oprah for president, this is a sign of how desperate the Democrats are, how thin their field is, how weak their bench is, and how eager they are to grab the first celebrity who comes along and stands up in front of, as Charlie said, an audience that was totally on her side, totally with her on the issue of harassment.
But Karl,
and as Ben
wait a
said,
minute. The Republicans thought they had such a deep bench going into 2016. They had all of these guys across, and they did, but they couldn't cut it. and Donald Trump
But
won.
you know what?
Here's the real
it's
difference,
because
Carl.
Donald
The
Trump.
Republican
It was because
Party-
Donald Trump had political chops, and maybe
Excuse
Oprah
me.
Winfrey will have. I just seriously
Here's the
doubt
real
it.
difference,
I think
Carl.
this is
The
a parlor
Republican
game
Party-
moment where Democrats are so desperate. This is the best they can come up with, and they're going to hold on
Carl,
to it as
here's the
long as they
reality.
possibly can.
Robert.
The Republican Party looks like a restricted country club that's catered by Meals on Wheels. You've got a Democratic Party that has diversity, that has talent. You have people, it's not about celebrity, it's about accomplishment. It can be Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, who has a record of achievement, or Joe Biden, who can speak to that, or Oprah Winfrey. But it speaks to accomplishment. It doesn't speak about just celebrity.
Can I make just one real quick
Very
point?
quick.
The reason Trump made this work is because he made his campaign about issues, and I just question whether that's something that Oprah Winfrey will be able to pull off too.
We'll see. Thanks,
Don't
you guys.
bet against Oprah, Charlie.
Great to see you all.